Hey guys, welcome. Welcome back to Saints TV. JLT game 2 is done and just finished watching it. I didn't get to go to the game, unfortunately, but I got to watch it from the comfort of my parents' place. And yeah, I guess not a bad result. 79-93 victory. We won by 14 points. It was a fairly heated game for a JLT, one of the more heated games that I've watched in the preseason, where there were players kind of fist fighting and really getting under each other's skin, which was kind of like, it felt like it was almost like a real season game. But yeah, we won the game. It was 14 points. We started really well. I thought we came out of the blocks really well, which is the opposite of what happened last week. North came out of the blocks and we had to kind of take over after that, but we really were assertive with the way we were moving the ball. Nick Hines stood out in that first quarter, the way he really just grabbed it and he went and he set up a lot of our attacks from kind of that, half back to half forward sort of area. With his explosive speed, he could get away from someone, in 10, 15 metres, and that was enough for him to kind of look around and he didn't just blaze away. Jack Nunes was really good. I think he was the number one ranked player on the ground, in fact, 117 fantasy points. Paddy McCartan, again, a major talking point in this game. He kicked 2 goals. I thought he moved well, continued his form from last week and played really well. He kind of I think he got hit in the head by a teammate. I can't remember who it was. And then kind of hit his head on the ground in that same movement. And that from that point on, he didn't take any further part in the game. Before I get started, Darren has actually reminded me about the free kick count. That was something I was counting from, I think, maybe just after half-time, where it was like 26-4 or something at half-time. But the final tally was 40 free kicks to 14. I don't understand that. I get that at times we were reckless and we went in for a lot of hard tackles, and that's what we want to see. We want to see that sort of endeavour and that passion to really smash a bloke, and I loved that, and I wouldn't want to change that any week, even if we did concede free kicks that weren't there. But they were never even. Like, the amount of times that they would drop the ball and it was just play on, and then we would do it and it was immediately a free kick, or they'd, like, the Dogs are almost taking a leaf out of West Coast book in terms of dropping the shoulder. We know McRae does it, we know all those sort of players do it, but jeez, 40-14. It's not even like it's... Some teams complain when it's 10-20. It wasn't 10-20. It wasn't 10-30. It was 14-40. That's plus 26. And you're telling me that doesn't sway the game in any way, shape, or form? That's bullshit. That will always sway a game. And no doubt it did. The second half, they really fought hard. And I thought, well, we blew our chance to really consolidate a big lead because we missed so many chances. Our inside 50s in the second and third terms, we started bombing it again. And I looked, like, my mum turned to me, she's like, this is how we were playing last season, this is as bad as it was last season. I go, just be patient. But I really liked that we finished the game the better. We had composure. I thought we performed really well under the pressure that the Dogs put us under. The defence did well. I thought Darren Joyce, is it Darren Joyce or Dara Joyce? I'll just call him Joyce. I thought he was really good at fullback. I thought Brucey was good. Membry was excellent in front of goal, and Membry was excellent in front of goal and kick straight. I think I have to hold my phone. Loney was kind of getting under people's skin. Gresh didn't really get into it as much as I would have liked. I was hoping that maybe this could have been that game to set him up for round 1. But I think just the fact that we get, most players come through without any sort of injuries. We get 2 wins on the board against 2 teams that beat us last season. Just FYI, it's not like we played 2 teams that we're comfortable playing against. It's 2 teams that have had the better of us, that have performed better than us, generally in the last 2-3 seasons, which I mentioned last week. It was good to get the win over North because they've had it over us. But then the same thing with the Dogs. They had it over us as well recently, and there's a spider, and I just killed it. So yeah, it's hard to know where we're at because we've played 2 teams. We've played 2 teams that have had the better of us, but it's hard to see where we're at until round 1. And even if we come out and hypothetically smash Gold Coast, which, I don't know if we'll smash them, but I think we should be favourites and we should go in with some confidence based on pre-season. But even if we won by 10 goals, the media will still be saying, they haven't played anyone yet. That would essentially be 3 games from, 3 wins from 3 that we've played against competitive AFL clubs and have won. But they won't be happy with that. It'll come round 2, we play the Bombers, and then I think we've got Adelaide and Freo or something coming up after those. So it's, it'll be interesting how the media treat it, because we've been treated fairly harshly. Let's see, let's just go through some of these comments because I don't want to get sidetracked. But Marcus has said, I have a weird feeling we gave our all today and that will be our season this year and we will improve to be like 11th on the ladder but not finals yet. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to tell, man. It's hard to tell. Obviously, I think all teams are trying. I don't think we gave it our all today. I think the last 10 minutes, it seemed like we were pretty good at just passing the ball around and conserving energy. But we've got the week off, so it doesn't matter if we gave it our all. There's no excuse. You get the whole week off this week, train next week, and then get back into round one. I don't see any sort of excuse there. Michael should finish about 10th this year. That's not bad. I said I wanted to finish within the top 10. So whether that's finals is another question, but I want that top 10 is competitive. You're not a walkover when you're 10th. You might have a few games here and there where you're like, Jesus, we're shit. But you'll have more games than not when you're like, we're in this game, we can build on something. And that's how we were, was it 2016, 2017, when we performed pretty well against a lot of top teams and kind of fell away at the back end of the season. That's where I want us to get back to and more. So I think I liked that Nick Riewoldt was commentating, because he was honest about the club, and he thinks that we'll finish above the Dogs. That was a question that was asked. I think someone's just walked in. No privacy at all. It's going to throw me off. But as I was saying, Nick Riewoldt was fairly honest in his critiques with the club, and that was really good. I thought that him thinking that we're finished above the Dogs was accurate, and I'm not being biased, but I think that the Dogs have got a really good mould of midfielders, but I think we've got a bit more in attack and in defence. I think in terms of key position, we looked better. And actually that brings me to the point. Rowan Marshall in the ruck for the season. I think he will be an absolute gun in that position. If we can keep him fit around the ground, he's a boss. And he moves like a midfielder around the ground. He's miles ahead of Longer. Long is a great tap ruckman, which is what Riewoldt said. But Rowan Marshall will give you so much more around the ground. He marked in defence. He marked in attack. He set up so many good centre clearances. He's just got a great sort of, he's got a good base to work from and to build into, and he's only going to get better. Ben Long, excellent today. Great goal at the end to seal the game. I thought Nick Hine was good. Matthew Parker with that mark. I can't believe it took me this long to remember that. But that was very early in the game, like first 2 minutes. He's taken this specky. Unfortunately, he couldn't kick the goal, but he was fiery today. He started a few fights for some reason, and that was great to see. Jack Stephen was in the crowd, so that was really positive. Let's go through some of these. Pearce or Marshall for ruck? Marshall, I think I answered that already. Marshall, hands down. I think Pearce looks exciting, and he and Marshall are probably my top two. So Longer, I don't know if this is the sort of year where we really won't see much of him, but we'll wait and see. Finals this year, Mark Mitchell reckons Darren back Pearce in. I back Pearce in, but I think it's a good competition. There's two spots there. There's two players there for that one spot, and you're only going to get the best out of them to make that position theirs. So that's a great position to be in, but I think we do need to draft a bit more in terms of ruck stock next season, or even I think there's a mid-season draft, so maybe look into that. Brad says, let's go Saints. Daniel showed real improvement. I reckon we should play finals this year. I'm not going to get carried away just yet, but love the optimism. And Carrie says, I missed the game because I was working, but awesome to have this recap. I'm glad you like it. If you guys didn't see already, Saints TV is on Spotify, and I think we're in review. I think iTunes or Apple's currently reviewing to see if we're good enough for iTunes podcasting. So if you're on iTunes and not on Spotify, we'll be on there, and it'll be essentially what you're hearing now, but just not my face, which could be a good or a bad thing. And you'll be able to catch up on all things there, and it could just be a good, I guess, place for me to kind of get fans on if they want. We can do interviews over the phone or something you guys can call up, which could be a different aspect to it. I'm going to try and get, to the games and get people to get on camera and talk about the games. Maybe it might necessarily not be with me, but with other people that will be helping out with Saints TV, which is great. So the support out there is awesome, and I appreciate all of it. St Kilda Saints is asking, how do you feel about Loney, especially after nearly being dropped from the entire team? I think he's fought back hard, and I can see why they play him. He is niggly, and he gets into some good positions, but I mean, who would, if he's out, who's in? That's what I'm thinking. Who's not in yet? Nick Caulfield's not the same position. He didn't play. Who's missing that, would get that position? That's the one thing that I'm just curious of. I would give him round 1, and we'll see how he goes. I don't know what his stats were today. I don't know how many tackles he laid. I don't think he kicked any goals. But they do say, forward pocket's a very tough position, and with Billings and Gresh moving more into the midfield, which is something the coaches have definitely said they want to do, we can't have no small forwards in that area. We need people to be able to rove, McCartan, Bruce, Membry. So, I mean, Dean Kent is there and he plays in that position. I thought he did some good things today. He also did some weird things where he kicked on his right foot and it went like 2 meters and nothing happened. Then the Bulldogs player got it and kicked it on the full. So that was the worst piece of play I've ever seen in the JLT. But it doesn't matter because we got the win and now we get the week off. It's weird having 2 games and not having really much to complain about. I mean, the only major down point was McCartan, I think, today, and, Pearce last week, but it's precaution. I think Pearce will be fit for round 1 if he gets in, depending on what, Marshall's done today, if that's enough, but, and McCartan's the same. I think it's precaution. The AFL's going to make it a big thing. They're going to say, Paddy's done it again, he's out for the season, concussion. It wasn't that. What are you going to do? You're going to keep playing him for the JLT when it doesn't really matter, to be honest, and risk him for more, or just rest him and bring on some other players, which we had. Ed Phillips came on, Dylan Robertson rested a little bit in the second half. So there's not much to complain about. I think we've done exactly what we wanted to do in the best case scenario, and we've done it. And so if anyone out there is still not satisfied, the only way you'll ever be satisfied is if we, win every game this season and win the premiership, and that's not going to happen. So it's just reality is we've got some new coaches, we've got some new players, and we've won 2 games from 2 against 2 teams we've not beaten in a long time, or in a year or 2. Can't be too bad about that. St Kilda Saints have said Loney got 2 points, 10 disposals, 1 tackle, 5 marks too. So that's not bad. If he had kicked 1 or 2 goals with those sort of numbers, I'd be happy, but he didn't. He kicked 2 points. I'm sure, there's more to his game than just that. Taylor, Robbo is going to be very important as an intercept defender, especially due to Carlisle missing most of the year. Incredibly happy with Kent, Parker and Long as they allow for Gresham and Billings playing more up the ground, which is exactly what I mentioned, which is a good point. Loney needs to continue to perform, especially if the other smalls perform. Yeah, great point there, Taylor. I think you're 100% spot on. And yeah, good point. Michael, Kent will be a great, tough asset. I think so. I think he'll do some really cool things. I liked, I don't know what quarter it was in, but if you guys were watching, he had his back to our kind of forward 50, but he turned the play inside out with a bit of quick turn and a bit of pace, and then I think he kicked it to Marshall, who marked it and didn't score, but it was just a great turn because he had no right to get past the guy because he was facing away from where he needed to go, and he just did it with a quick turn, backed himself, and that was it. Ash, what do you think of the Paddy knock? I think it's nothing. I think he'll play round 1 and then we'll be like, so he was fine after all. Let's keep going. Gary, good to see Stephen there. Ash also says disposal was very average. I thought so too, but it's pre-season and the Dogs weren't much better, and it was 2 pressure teams going at it, and I thought the pressure catered more to the bad disposal than just poor players. I thought it was a good pressure game, and that's what the result was. And it's against the Bulldogs, who love to play that sort of handball-y game, and it's always going to be prone to a lot of mistakes. Simon, when will Stephen be back? Apparently, he'll be back for round 1. That's all I've heard internally. I think he'll play round 1. He'll be there. He doesn't want to miss a game this season, is what I've heard from the club. He just needed 3 weeks off this pre-season just to deal with his own personal issues, and he'll come back. So the fact that he made the trip to Ballarat today is a great sign, and I think he'll have this week off as well, train the next week, and then lead up to round 1, he'll be in. So I'm super excited. Dan Hannabury, not sure where he sits at the moment, but we'll see. And I might close it off after this, guys, but keep the comments coming because the video will still be posted and I'll respond when I can. Cooper, Dunstan, again, poor. Can't be best 22 turnover king. Maybe Nick Caulfield, maybe Ed Phillips would be in his position, or, at least going for that sort of mid-wing sort of area. Travis Marshall's performance was positive. I 100% agree with you. Declan, thoughts on Parker and Kent from these two games and what you think they can bring in 2019? Great question. Really like that question. I think Parker brings us a different aspect to our forward 50. He's a mid-sized sort of player. He's not huge, but like I told you last week, he is tall when you see him up close. He reminds me of a, what did I say last week? Mundy from Freo. You know, Mundy, he's a big midfielder, but he goes forward and he can really worry defenders because he's that 6'3", 6'4" sort of height. Broad shoulders, he can take a mark, as we've seen with that Specky, and he can kick some goals, and he's clever, and he's actually pretty quick. He's got some toe to him, so I think he gives us a bit of X factor around goal, and with Ben Long there too, it's going to be dangerous. Gresh, Billings, Ben Long, Parker, Dean Kent, it's going to be awesome. Dean Kent's the same, he's a mongrel, but he knows where the goals are. You know, like I love those sort of players where they don't need much of the ball to do something with it. And I think he's the same. I wouldn't expect him to have 20, 30 possessions every week, but if he can have 15, 16 and kick 2 or 3 and set up a few and lay 5 or 6 tackles a game, 100% you keep him at every week. That's exactly what he's there for. Ross Sinclair out, Loney out. Sinclair, another one that's kind of on the edge, but we'll see. St Kilda Saints. Paddy is going to have Saints. Awesome. Well, hopefully he's okay. I'll leave it there, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Like I said before, if you haven't heard, I'm on Spotify, so there are going to be regular podcasts. So if you don't get to watch this video or you want to re-watch it or re-listen to it in your own time in the car, it's pretty cool. You know, it's even hooked up to, I think, Google Home. So if you have Google Home, just say, hey, Google, play Saints TV podcast. And it's worked for me and it's played it for me, which is awesome. So please follow that. YouTube as well. I'll be posting these on YouTube if you want to catch up on them. And obviously on Instagram as well. So I'll leave it there, guys. Thanks again for watching. I think, you know, I'll let you guys know when the next video is happening. I'm planning on doing sort of a season preview, so we'll look at our first month and we'll talk about kind of how we're feeling about it. But until then, go Saints.